Whenever Derek Curiel was a kid, his dad Rick built a giant batting cage in their backyard, like a real batting cage, tall. You can hit a fly ball. It doesn't just have to be a low line drive. And they would go out there for hours at a time, throwing hundreds of balls. The neighbors would make noise complaints because, yeah, it's a middle bat. It would be loud, and they'd be out there a lot. But they were building a baseball player. And whenever Derek Curiel was selected fifth overall in this amateur draft earlier this month, a lot of those neighbors came by to congratulate Derek on starting his pro career. Good morning, and welcome to Offbeat here on North Shore 9, presented by FanDuel. My name is Alex Stumpf, and this is a daily look at your Pittsburgh Pirates. And we're going to take a quick break away from the Major League team today, and we're going to talk about Derek Curiel, who signed his contract on Sunday officially. He is a Pittsburgh Pirate. I don't think there's ever any doubt that he was going to sign, but it was a big deal for them. It's always a big deal whenever the first round pick comes in. And it's always exciting for someone like me because you get to meet some family, you get to meet some coaches, some people who've been in his life. You also get to meet the actual player, get to see him in person. And, couple good stories, couple good impressions. So let's just take a look there. We're going to focus on the guys who weren't Derek to start off with. Then we'll take the break halfway through, and then we'll just talk about Derek. But first, the other people. And one of the people who was there was Jay Johnson, who is the head coach of LSU, which has basically become the farm system, AAA of the Pirates, because that's where they got Paul Skeens. Connor Griffin almost went to LSU. Now they get this first rounder this year in Curiel. It's a good impression if you keep going back to the same school. Jay Johnson's become kind of an important figure, even though he's not with the Pirates. Got to talk to him for a little bit. And it was asked in a group scrum, where did Derek Curiel grow the most? Because the Pirates did have some level of interest in Curiel. Ben Cherington brought that up, that they did talk whenever he was in high school. He obviously wasn't going to be taken fifth overall whenever he was in high school. He's grown, he's developed. They asked Johnson, where has he grown? Quote, I think if he had the body he had out of high school, he would not have come to college. I think one of his greatest traits is self-awareness and knowing what was possible for him. Adding the strength was a big piece. He's a performer. He's always performed. Kind of like that quality of always being the best player on the field, no matter who's on the field. I think it allowed him to show that. To do what he did in the SEC for 2 years against the best competition, a very, very worthy pick at number 5 overall for the Pirates. Now, I talked to Johnson 3 years ago about Paul Skeens. And I remember in that conversation him saying the Pirates just drafted their team captain. They don't have to worry about that. Paul will take over there. And lo and behold, if that wasn't a spot-on analysis, who the heck am I to question the credentials or, the ball knowledge of the head coach of LSU, one of the biggest power programs in the collegiate game right now. But it's reassuring to see the coach just talk that highly about his star players, that it's not just a talent thing, it's a growth thing. It's look, he wasn't the guy he is now whenever he came to LSU. He physically grew, he physically developed, and that's on top of being part of the game where you develop and you grow, and as a person where you grow. So it was one of those moments where it's I've had this conversation with you before. And the last time we had this conversation, everything you said turned out to be pretty spot on. So I am inclined to believe what you're saying. This is someone that if you view this highly, that is worth a note. Also, someone who thought very highly of Curiel, obviously, is Ben Cherington. And this was this is a big draft for him. This is a big draft for the entire organization because they are not going to get a lottery pick next year. Regardless of if this team is able to make the playoffs, they were ineligible. So this was going to be the last time, perhaps for a while, that they are going to have a pick this high. And at the end, they pick someone who they want to continue to develop, someone that they want to continue, they see that growth potential in. He signed underslot. They got to spread some money around. But they see that area for him to grow. And I think that's telling of two things. Number one, the individual that they took, who wasn't this physically developed 2 years ago, whenever they talked to him out of high school, and they really kind of liked what they saw. Maybe he wasn't ready yet, but like, okay, there's bones here. There's something to work on. And just continuing to see where he goes from there. But it also says a lot about what they feel about their player development, especially on the hitting side. I know a lot of the pitching development is getting its flowers, and it absolutely should. Josh Hopper and, the pitching coordinator, this has been a years-long process that you're starting to see the fruit of, or that we have seen the fruit of with this whole homegrown rotation. Like, that is an accomplishment, and the pitching is getting its flowers. The offense, I think, has really started to develop the last couple of years. I think at the start of the Cherington era, I don't think hitting development was where it needed to be. I think they really have grown over the last couple years. And the fact that they're willing to take someone with this high a pick and they feel confident that he will be able to continue to grow and get closer to that ceiling, I think that says a lot about what they feel their player development. That this is a project. He needs to have that growth mindset, but this is the type of person you bet on. So it struck me, of them kind of like unspoken. It's unspoken, but like, he does need to get better, but they feel like he can. Someone who also says that Derek Curiel needs to get better is Derek Curiel. And I was impressed with what he had to say on Sunday. We're going to take a quick break, throw it over to Cody. We'll talk about that whenever we get back.
This episode is brought to you by IQ Bar, our exclusive snack hydration sponsor. IQ Bar protein bars, IQ Mix hydration mixes, and IQ Joe mushroom coffees are the delicious, low-sugar, brain and body fuel you need to win your day. The Ultimate Sampler Pack is a great way for you to try all IQ Bar products and flavors. You get 9 IQ bars, 8 IQ Mix sticks, and 4 IQ Joe sticks. All IQ Bar products are clean label certified and entirely free from gluten, dairy, soy, GMOs, and artificial ingredients. With over 20,000 5-star reviews and counting, more people than ever are fueling their lifestyles with IQ Bar's brain and body boosting bars, hydration mixes, and mushroom coffees. The Ultimate Sampler Pack includes all 3. My personal favorites so far have been the almond butter chip and the iced tea lemonade hydration mix. It's just really full of flavor. I love starting my day with it, and I couldn't imagine starting my day with anything else other than IQ Bar products. Right now, IQ Bar is offering our podcast listeners 20% off all IQ Bar products, including the Ultimate Sampler Pack, plus free shipping. To get your 20% off, text MLB to 64,000. That's MLB 64000. Message and data rates may apply. See terms for details.
My first impression of Derek Curiel on Sunday was he didn't look exactly the most comfortable being on that podium, having all those cameras pointed at him. And that's fine. I don't know how much, he got at that in high school or LSU or anything, but as it went on, he got more comfortable. You could tell. Kind of really impressed with how he answered a lot of this stuff. And I get this is just words. We're going to care about OPS and WAR and RBI and defensive runs saved over words. But right now, when all we have is his previous body of work in college and words, I taking a lot of stock in those words. Like he was asked, at LSU, how did you grow? How did you develop? He said, quote, changed my career for sure. I got to see baseball in a different perspective. I played baseball one way my whole life, California baseball. Played for a lot of the same coaches my whole life. Went to the SEC and played with a different group of guys, different coaching styles. It really clicked with me. I went to college with an open mind, sponge-like. I wanted to absorb everything in. Made a few adjustments early. Moving on for a little bit. And then he finished, we said, things like that. I learned a lot of good things that I will carry with me the rest of my career, end quote. And I think that's pretty telling that he purposely wanted to go to a college that was different, that he wanted that different perspective, that he wanted to challenge himself. He shared a story about how he shagged fly balls from Jacob Gonzalez whenever he was a kid, because it was like Team USA, and it was just travel. And he was like, you know what? I want to go. I want to talk to Jacob Gonzalez. He hits the ball the furthest. I want to shag his fly balls. And he asked Jacob, about going to college. And Jacob wasn't in college at that point. He's like, why is he thinking about this? He's like 12 years old. And so you can see just that even early on, that mindset of I've got to find ways to get better. I've got to find ways to grow as a person, as a player. And that's the type of mindset that I in my experience, really works for players. Players who have that type of mindset usually are more coachable. They're usually more willing to experiment, to try new things, to search for ways to get better as a player. So whenever the Pirates take someone who does need to have some continued development, I could see why they circle that. Like, okay, he could be a candidate to do that. And there is obviously, that Pete Rose, mindset a little bit about how, you just do whatever it takes to win, whatever it takes to prevent a run, whatever it to score a run. If it's a drag bunt, if it's making a play in the field, do that. Quick aside, Rick Curiel was asked about that Pete Rose mindset. He's like, well, that's what my dad, pointed out. He's like, that's how you play the ball game, and that's how he taught it to Derek later. So interesting to see that generational Pete Rose influence right there. But you see that, and I take that as he was taught that as a kid. Like, that's how you're supposed to play the game, and he still has that approach, and he's still searching out different ways to grow physically, different ways to grow as a ball player. I think that's intriguing. So he was asked to close out the press conference, what's next? He's now been selected. He is a pro baseball player. What's next? He answered, quote, I know it's going to be difficult. Pro ball's not easy. Baseball's not easy. I'm going to attack it at a full pace. Coach Johnson always says, when it gets hard, get harder. That's the mentality I'm going to take into it, end quote. Well, it's going to get harder, and he knows that. I'm interested to see what going harder for him looks like. Thank you so much for listening to Offbeat here on North Shore 9, presented by FanDuel. If you haven't already, be sure to subscribe wherever you find podcasts, or check us out on YouTube to see my smiling face. Thank you so much for listening. We will talk again tomorrow.
All right, that wraps up this episode of North Shore 9. Thanks so much for tuning in, whether you're listening on the podcast or catching us on YouTube. If you enjoyed the show, please give this video a thumbs up and don't forget to hit that subscribe button if you haven't already. It really helps us grow. And if you're listening on the podcast, a quick review goes a long way in helping others find the show. Plus, be sure to tell a friend about us. There's always room for more here in the NS9 community. And for those looking to support us a little more, consider joining our Patreon, become an MVP member, and get exclusive perks while helping us continue to bring you more of the Pirates content you love. Thanks again for all your support, and let's go Bucks.